Dominique, what's good? Can you hear us? Can you be heard? We're going to put you on the spot. What does resilience and well-being mean?
Yes, I hear you.
What up?
Hello. I don't know if you guys can hear me well. I don't have a good connection. I'm actually writing and listening at the same time since I'm just getting off work.
Okay. Well, we can hear you if you want to share. Otherwise, you can listen in the background.
Okay, I'm gonna listen in the background.
Okay. All right. Well, we about to get into it, y'all. So, resilience and well-being. So, when I talk about well-being, I'm talking about the clinical definition of well-being, and the reason why is because I think that it's I shouldn't say clinical. This is coming from Dr. Richard Branson from the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds at UW-Madison. And he talks about well-being as a function of 4 different things. One is awareness, introspection, connection, and purpose. And we're going to get into what all of those mean. And my hope is that by understanding these, we'll be able to intentionally build our well-being in no matter what circumstance we're in, which also contributes to resilience, which is what we'll go into next. So with awareness specifically here is talking about being in the present moment. And a lot of people say, just be in the moment. But what does that really mean? Be in the moment. One of the things that I've practiced Vipassana meditation, and it is specifically about mindfulness meditation. It's sensory meditation. So you're paying attention to what you are experiencing, whether it's a tingle, an itch, you're noticing how your breath is feeling. If you're, notice when you're upset, your breath tends to be less regular. So your breath tends to be shallow and unsteady. And you can, there's a heaviness that comes with that. There's a series of thoughts that come with that, and you're brooding over it. You might get a little heated, literally. People say, I'm getting heated because your body temperature seems to rise when it comes to you. Well, awareness allows you to just be aware of that. And you're not just saying, oh, I'm upset right now, but you are noticing the different pieces of that emotion that are creating and building that emotion. The same thing with excitement, the same thing with melancholy. You just chilling, you're not doing anything, but one of the studies that went into understanding how awareness played a role in this was they basically have this app where they asked people how they felt. And the folks who reported feeling better than normal or better than others tended to be focusing on their present moment. They were tuned into something right then and there. The folks who were not, they were dealing with stuff in the past or in the future, whether it's worry or anticipation or excitement, or it's, regret or worry or whatever the thing might be in the past. So for awareness, for well-being, awareness in the present moment just means you are tuned into what's happening right now. And a good tool to do that is to find a sensation that's happening right now, a thing that you can tune into that's happening, that you are feeling with your 5 senses right now in this moment, to bring you into the present moment, the present awareness. And an example of that is something that you might be smelling, something that you might be hearing, something, that you might be feeling, something that you might be tasting, a thought. And we'll get into how to go deeper into this awareness, but mindfulness and meditation, an easy way to become aware of this and to actualize that tool is just anywhere you are, we're all breathing all the time. How many of us really pay attention to our breath? The breath is something really amazing because it's something that is conscious. Like, we know about our body, right? You can feel your body. Can everybody here feel their body? You feel it, right? Is there anybody here that can't feel their body? If not, you might be under the influence or something. I don't know. But if you 9 times out of 10, you can feel your body, right? And you can control your body. But there are parts of your body that you can't really control, like your digestive system. How many felt where their pancreas is at? You know what? I don't know. I know it's around here somewhere. I don't know. But it's part of my body, and it's functioning. It's functioning automatically, subconsciously. The breath is something that is functioning consciously and subconsciously. And because of that, it can serve as a bridge between our subconscious and our conscious. And it allows us to tap into the resilience and the expanded awareness of our subconscious, and also be able to do things in the moment. So tuning into the breath, the natural breath as it is kind of bringing you to that neutral space. And studies have shown that even just 8 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day of being aware of your breath and just paying attention to that allows you to, it makes your brain more elastic, which is something that we have a very elastic brain as children, which is why kids can learn a language just by listening to it. How many of you can learn a language right now just by listening? I wish. If I could learn a language right now just by listening to it. But as children, we can, because our brains are elastic. Meditation like that helps you build the elasticity of your brain. It also helps to regulate blood pressure, and it brings you into the awareness of the present moment. It improves productivity. It balances your brain waves. And this is something as simple as just, and not even purposefully breathing, not even breathing on purpose where you're like counting 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about just sheer witnessing your breath, being a witness of your breath. You are in the present moment with your breath. What am I aware of in the present moment? How do I be in the present moment? You're present with your breath. And you can do that at any time, at any moment, and improve your well-being in an instant. So there's awareness, and I'm going to talk about ways to shift your funk in a minute, but I want to breeze through this part. Introspection. This is the second part of well-being. Introspection is, well, first off, does anybody have any questions about the awareness part of well-being? Any questions? How are y'all feeling about that? Does that make sense? Does anybody see how this can like improve your well-being, being present in the present moment? How many of us struggle with being present in the moment from time to time? We all experts? Let me hear from you. Word. I'm not an expert. Situations throw me all the way off sometimes. But I think the important part is to remember that, to be present. Another key to well-being is introspection. Introspection is being aware of your thoughts and not being ruled by or owned by your thoughts. So an example of this, your thoughts, your brain is a sensing tool. That's what it does. It's a thinking tool. That's what your brain does. The brain thinks. The eyes see, the nose smells, the ears hear, and the brain thinks. That is what it does. But we identify ourselves with our thoughts, even though they are frequencies, they are things that we receive, there are things that we produce. And oh my goodness. Sorry, I got a call. Can y'all hear me still? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I just got a call from somebody who I don't want to talk to, and that like threw me for a second. Woo! And I got their picture, so their picture popped up, and I was like, "Oh snap! It's been a minute." Anyways,
awareness, Eric.
There we go. Thank you. I'm being aware. I'm being aware of the fact that shook me. Okay. So we are not our thoughts. So a lot of us, we like to read people's minds. Some people fantasize about reading people's mind. Some people are like, I'm glad can't nobody read my mind. Because we think some pretty wild stuff sometimes. I mean, wild and out there. And one of the issues is that we become attached to our thoughts as if it's our identity. And that's in scientific terms and in metaphysical terms, that's almost as silly as being attached to a smell or being attached to something that you see. I can walk into a room and smell something smelly, and that doesn't mean that I'm smelly. I don't have to own that. I don't have to bring that onto me. But when it comes to our thoughts, we identify so heavily with them that we allow it to become part of our personality instead of just something that we thought. And one of the trademarks of depression is this sense of hopelessness, and this prolonged sense of hopelessness, and the negative thoughts that come along with that. And one of the beauties of introspection is just recognizing that thought is literally just a thought. It's just a smell. It's just something that we heard. It's just something that we saw. It is not us. And sometimes because we can't see it, because we can't identify it, grab it, and throw it away somewhere, we own it, and we think that it's more real than it actually is. So one of the keys to introspection is just asking the right questions. For some of us, we experience moments and we're like, oh, why does this always happen to me? Why is this always difficult? Why am I'm not successful? Why am I this? Why am I, and we're taking a negative approach to asking that question. And when you ask negative questions, you get negative answers. Your subconscious, your mind has an answer for that, because the mind is just a thinking machine. So we are not our minds. We are not our thoughts any more than we are our hand. I'm not my hand. I have a hand. My hand's right here. I can use it. I can do whatever I want to with it. If somebody saw it and they knew me well enough, they might even be like, that's Eric's hand. But they would be silly to say, this is Eric. And that's the same goes for our brain. The same goes for our mind. Scientists cannot find the mind. They know that the brain does some things, but it's not even, somebody could lose half their brain. They could lose 3/4 of their brain and still maintain all of their memories. It's a popular saying that we have a brand new body every 7 years. Well, where were you during those 7 years? Where were you in the switch? Did part of you take a vacation and just kind of move to the hand or to the shoulder while the rest of the body got fixed? No, we're something greater than that. We are something greater than our body, greater than our minds. And we've been given these tools to use to navigate this world. But a lot of us begin to identify so strongly with the tools that we've been given that when things don't go, when it doesn't look and feel the way that we think it should, then we feed into that despair, and we sacrifice our well-being. Is that resonating with y'all? Are y'all feeling that? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Okay. So we are not our thoughts, and asking the right questions will empower us. So how can I do this thing instead of why can I not do this thing is an empowering way to ask that question. So instead of saying, why does this always happen to me? What can I learn from this so that it doesn't happen again? Does that make sense? And this is acknowledging the power of our thoughts, and then also recognizing that we are not our own thoughts. The other part, the benefit, is that our thoughts can teach us about our thoughts. They can teach us about our mental habits, and it's not something to just own and get beat up about. But when you notice something about yourself, when you notice, wow, I have some negative self-speak. I talk to myself negatively sometimes, or I expect the worst. And rather than allowing that to be something that you own and that becomes this blemish, this defect that you don't want people to see, it can just be a thing that you're becoming aware of now, and that you're able to do some work with because you see it. No different than you looking in the mirror and seeing that you have something on your face. So that reflection allows you to grow, allows you to watch that habit that you might have, whether it came from a spouse, a partner, a parent, that mean kid at school when you were growing up. Well, no matter where it came from, you being able to introspect and witness that thought in the same way that you witness the breath is a tool that you can use to gain control of your introspection and gain control of your thoughts. So I want to point out that there's a connection between your ability to reflect and be aware of your thoughts and your ability to reflect and be aware of your breath. And this is practice. The breath is practice. When you're able to be just a witness to your breath, it prepares you to be more of a witness to your thoughts and to other situations that come up. And we'll talk about that more in resilience. Any questions or thoughts on reflection or on introspection? Any thoughts on introspection? Is that hitting home for somebody? Okay. I'm appreciating the head nods. So connection. Third part of well-being is connection. This is how we are connected to other people. We're human beings. We are social beings. Actually, this came up in a dream last night. And just saying these words out loud is reminding me of the dream that I forgot to write down. I tend to write my dreams, and I forgot this morning. But in one of those dreams, there was like a being, like a human being, that was talking to something else. And it was basically telling that something else that it was a part of a larger body, a larger living thing. In the same way that the cells that make up your fingers and your hands and your eyes, they're all alive. Your blood cells are alive. They're, running down the aisle. They're doing stuff. They're going to work. They're talking to each other. If you were to have the right microscope and look at your blood, it's like a whole universe there. There's things flying around. There's things talking to each other, bumping into each other. They got beef. They got, they got relationships. It's a literal, like, oh, I don't like them over there. We don't, they're having conversations with each other. They signal each other. They're working together. They're alive. They live, they're born, and then they die. So that all is making up who we are. And in order for us to survive, those things have to be connected. And when we are born, for whatever reason, we forget. I'm not going to say for whatever reason. We know that the reason is society, and it's get rich by any means necessary, and it's a dog-eat-dog world, and you're in there alone, and it's a cruel, cruel world. And all of these sayings that we buy into, again, these thoughts that we own that tell us that we're not connected when we really are. We're connected at our core. We are connected living things. And then when we get born, we have to stay connected. We rely on whoever's going to take care of us. And if a baby is not touched, if a baby is not held, if a baby is not caressed, that baby will die. They call it failure to thrive syndrome, where it's just like, for whatever reason, the baby died because it did not receive, they call it tactile stimulation in the scientific world, tactile stimulation. We need to be connected with each other. We are connected beings. But in a time like COVID, how do we stay connected? We're staying connected now. We're connecting with each other. And sometimes social media definitely can help, but it's more than just having an interaction with someone or reflecting and relating with someone. It's also being able to see your connection to someone else, but being able to see yourself in other people. That's reflecting. So I can look at you all and I can have a conversation with you, and on the surface level, I'm just having a conversation. But if I'm really mindful that day, I'm feeling myself and I've been meditating and I've been, in my zone, you know what I mean? I'm looking at you and I'm noticing the parts of you that are reflections of me. And I'm noticing that the things that I see are based off of my lenses that I'm wearing. The things that stand out to me, just peep this for a second. This got me when it fell on me like this. But okay. A spider crawls along the desk. A spider crawls along the wall. And how do you react? Let me hear it. How do you react if you see a spider? Let me hear you. What's that?
You kill it.
Ah! We got to get rid of that thing. Killing it. Who else?
Yeah, I just crush it. I'm not afraid of spiders.
You're not afraid of spiders. You just get rid of them.
I don't react anymore. It's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something scary. You would jump.
Yeah, and sometimes, one thing that I find is the vacuum cleaner works well. Sucks it right up. It's gone.
Word. Okay. Okay. What if the spider was crawling on you? You just chilling. Listen.
And that's
If
different.
I'm just chilling and I look down and I see 8 legs, I'm gonna be startled. That's just me. I'm gonna be a little startled. I'm gonna try to keep it. I'm gonna try to keep it like my daddy taught me. But listen, we might hit some octaves there. Okay, Shantae, I appreciate you. Shantae's got to run. The reason I'm bringing this up is because to some people, spiders are really scary. To some people, spiders are not scary at all. To some people, spiders are a threat. To some people, spiders are not. And I got a friend who studies spiders. And to him, spiders are these beautiful creatures that, that are just, wonderful and amazing and have personalities and all these things. So, but that has nothing to do with the spider. It has everything to do with the person and what their upbringing is, what their history is. Some of you said it. Yeah, it's been a while. So, I'm not even afraid anymore. And all that has to do with your upbringing and your lens. When you see a spider, you're looking through these lenses and you see something differently than I might see, or that someone who hasn't had as much experience with spiders might see. For some of us, we're like, oh, we got to kill that. For others, we're like, oh, let's pick it up and let's place it gently on a leaf and watch it float away. Or others are like, let's study it. Let's ask it what its name is. Let's see what, how long its legs are. Different lenses that are coming from our experiences. So when I look at a spider, the way that I just peep this for a second. When I look at a spider, the way that I receive that spider has nothing to do with the spider. It has everything to do with me. And if I can pay attention and reflect on how I'm receiving that spider, or how I'm receiving that person, or how I'm receiving that situation, then I learned something not just about that spider or that person or that situation. I learned something about myself. So when I'm talking to you, or when I'm in a conversation, I'm in your presence, if I'm really in my zone, I'm not just having that conversation with you on a surface level. I'm reflecting, I'm connecting, I'm noticing how I'm perceiving you and what that's saying about me. Is something getting on my nerves? Is something bothering me? Am I really excited about something? Is something attracting me? What is all of this saying about me as a person? And how can I learn and grow as a person for myself? And being able to relate to that helps break down the barriers to connection as well. And it allows us to have a deeper connection so I can relate more to you because I'm seeing you. But I'm not just seeing you, I'm seeing myself in you. And I'm being able to dig deeper into a more real connection. Are y'all feeling that? Y'all feeling how we reflect each other? I guess that's what it drills down to. We reflect each other.
Yes.
Okay. So connection doesn't have to be, it does not have to be a physical connection. It doesn't have to be an in-person connection. You can have this sensation, you can cultivate this connection just by communicating with people online, by watching people communicate online, and just noticing reflecting about how you're receiving those people. So connection doesn't have to be something that you experience in the present. It could be a phone call. It could be anything that allows you to feel connected to another person. And the other part of this is acceptance, being able to accept people for who they are and what they are in your life. And a good way to cultivate that, first off, if you're able to accept people, how many of us want to be accepted? We don't want people to want to change us all the time. We don't want people to be ridiculing us all the time, or be looking down on us, or trying to ostracize us and discriminate. We want to be accepted. We want to be connected. Mm-hmm. And cultivating that for other people allows us to build an environment where we're accepted as well. So to get, you got to give. And one of the ways to accept folks is, instead of attributing and blaming them and labeling them based on what you see and what you're perceiving from them, allow that sight and that perception and that experience of them to be something that is telling you about yourself and your preferences and where you're at and your perspective. and acknowledge your ignorance of that person and all the things that kept culminated to make them who they are. Any thoughts on that? That got a little bit more deep than I had planned, but we dig it. Are you digging it?
Digging it.
I agree.
Word. Okay, right on. Purpose. So we did awareness, introspection, connection, purpose. My mother used to work for a law firm. She's a legal secretary, but she used to process and manage the pensions of a large company. This company handled a lot of pensions. And I think it was pensions for other companies. So they had like a big bird's eye view of pensions, lots and lots of money, pensions we're talking about, people's retirement fund. And this is not an exaggeration. This is not me making this up. The reason why this company made so much money was because they knew, and they could show with their data, that 90% of the people who retired died within 3 years of receiving their pensions. They never received, 90% of the people that retired never received all of their pension. And there's some studies, especially around men who retire, that shows that after a couple of years, you're not here no more. And one of the things that you also notice with women is that that's not the case. And the difference that is kind of on the surface level is that in a patriarchal society like ours, where, you know, we say that men have to be the head of the household and all of this stuff, you know, what are women doing? They're cooking, they're cleaning, they're taking care of the kids, they're taking care of the man, they're making sure that he has what he needs. And what's the man doing? What's the retired man doing? Is he mowing the lawn? Maybe, you know, but for the most part, he's sitting around and letting his wife do everything. Now, I'm not saying that that's the way that it should be, but society, especially around this time where this study was taking place, is typically where it was at. And women lived longer. We put a lot more responsibility on women, and women tend to have, as a result, a lot more purpose. That thing that's driving them is saying, no, I got to stay here. I got to stick around. I got to do some stuff. So purpose is life, and knowing our purpose and having a compelling purpose is something that contributes to our well-being. If you don't know where you're going, you don't have any kind of purpose. I mean, we already know. You already know. You know, so we're created to create. We're created to make things, to build things, to contribute to society. So a good question to ask is, you know, what wakes you up? What would you do for free? What in your business would you never outsource because it just gives you so much joy? And if you don't have one of those things, what's something that you just find that people tend to gravitate towards you for, and you have no problem supplying that to them because it just fills you up to do it, and you lose track of time doing it. You know, for me, it's this right here. For me, it is reading and studying and learning from great people who have been successful, and then turning around and sharing that with other folks and applying that to my life. I love it. And I get to see an impact. So it doesn't have to be on a grand scale. It can be on a little, it could be one life. It could be one person. It could be holding a door for somebody. But your purpose, you know, understanding that and spending time with that. And there's no wrong answer because it's really up to you what that is. But having the introspection to be able to know what, you know, where you're at with that, having the awareness to be able to be in the present moment and being connected to the right people who are showing you, even if they're not telling you, you find your purpose, build your well-being. Is that resonating with folks?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on well-being? Reflections on well-being after the fact. We talked about well-being in the beginning. Where are you at with well-being now? And do you feel like you're in a place to intentionally improve your well-being no matter what the circumstance? Let me hear from you. 17, we got enough time. Y'all there? What part of this is standing out most for y'all? If you're talking and you're on mute, I can't hear you. What's that?
Is that Valencia or me? Because for me, this is Sharon. These things aren't new for me, and something that I've practiced in different stages of my life to help achieve and overcome many obstacles that have jumped in my way throughout the process. And I think as you focus on them, things start to happen. So one of the things that has kind of really jumped out for me and keeps me going is purpose. I have yet to find a job that wants me to wake up, but I find when I do things that I enjoy and that I like, that may be a hobby or just helping someone, is really what keeps me going. So it's a matter of seeing how you fit, and what makes you happy overall is basically what you were saying. So that's what resonated for me.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Sharon. What else? What's that?
I was going to say, you know, well-being is all about perspective, you know, how you see things. You know, you have the ability to see things negatively or positively, and there's always a positive in everything we go through. You know, I know that, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I would say that, you know, nothing happens to us that is not for our own good, but the glory of God. You know, we go through so many things, and it's all about your perspective and how you see them and how you know, react to them. You know, you're not one situation that you go through. You're not just one, you know, one little minute piece of air, but you know, it's all in how you see things, you know, that, you know, that get you through. You know, I mean, even though we all are going through right now, you know, it's all in how you see things. I mean, I don't see this as an end to my business. I don't see this as an end to me being an entrepreneur, but you know, it's some things that will shake you, but it's just all in how you see it, how you deal with it.
Right. That's really real. Whew, that's really, really real. And my hope is that we as entrepreneurs can access these tools and have some language to be able to pour into other entrepreneurs, other folks in general who, you know, need some help with their well-being. Well-being is critical right now. You know, so being able to speak to that and ask folks like, well, how, you know, how are you being in the present moment? How are you staying present? You know, how's your awareness? How, you know, how are your connections? Are you feeling connected? You know, how are you with processing your thoughts? You know, where's your purpose? What excites you? Being able to speak to these things in a definitive way to help someone cultivate their own well-being is a goal of mine, and being able to talk about it here with you all as well. So thank you for that. Any other reflections on well-being? How are you feeling about this?
I agree that well-being is the way that you look at things. It's your outlook. And I take this whole pandemic, for example, where I haven't been working. I have an in-home senior care business, and I contracted with a few adult family homes, and that's how I was making my money. And during the pandemic, she closed the doors to all of the outsiders. So there was no help in or out. And if you needed outside help, she moved them out. So that would put an immediate stop to my income. And at one point in time, it got me down and like, oh, what am I going to do? And after I sat and thought about it, I was like, by me being an entrepreneur and being in a struggling situation before and actually not being able to work for myself,
it taught me to make sure I had a backup and make sure I had a savings. So, and that, you know, things look up, there's other ways, and I just had to figure out a different way to market and brand myself. During this pandemic, it gave me time to do that, where I was juggling, trying to figure out another stream of income to add and all of this stuff, and babysitting and things like that, where my kids are at home, they're learning, and I still realized I still had a nice savings to last me through this 2 months. We haven't missed a meal. So I'm very grateful for, you know, the situation, the way I look at it, that even though I haven't been to work, I'm still able to, well, today's my first day at work, I should say. I'm still able to have a positive mindset and still go out there and try and brand and market myself, and even use this pandemic, since it is healthcare, and I decided to remarket myself for that way so I can try and get clients. And it actually has helped me. It made me a little bit more positive compared to before. And when I was just, oh, now I'm out of work and everything, it just made me look at it different, and things are happening to turn around. So I do agree that it is your outlook and how you decide to apply what's going on in your life.
Yeah, definitely. You know, being aware, being able to look at your thoughts, being present and connected, and knowing your purpose. You know, these are things that if you can diligently seek these things, no matter what you're going through, you're going to be able to improve your well-being. And that plays into resilience. So if nobody else has something, I'm going to jump right into resilience. Cool? Okay. So resilience, the ability to withstand and adapt to change. Things are going to change. Resilience is being able to withstand and adapt to that. Here we have a baby bird coming out of its shell. And it's really important. What I love about this is that, you know, it's so cute. It's a baby coming out of a shell, you know, and when we see that, we're like, oh, we want to help. Oh, let's do this. But hold on for a second. If we break that shell open for that baby, then it's not developing the muscles that it needs in its neck and in its wings to be able to fly. And this cage that it's in, this shell, is literally its saving grace. It's literally a resource. What is a barrier to this bird? It wants to get out. It wants freedom. It wants to fly, but there's something in its way. It was born into something that's in its way. It didn't ask for this, but it's here. And its very presence is literally a resource. Now, I don't know what this bird is thinking. You know, it might be upset. It might be saying, oh man, where's the shell? I just want to see my mom. What's going on? Why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? But the presence of the shell is necessary. And if we were to help it break out of its shell, we'd actually be doing it a disservice. It needs that shell. And the way I like to look at this is that we're blessed to be challenged. Somebody said it earlier, is that things happen for us, not to us. You know, things happen for us to be able to grow into the people that we want to be. When we ask for leadership, when we ask for ability, when we ask for resources, when we ask for strength, we're asking for trials. We're asking for hardships. And what I've recently been able to do is really, really embrace this. And I don't mean like, oh yeah, things change, everything changes, and you know, things happen for me, not to me. But I mean really, really, really like embracing, like getting excited for a challenge. You know, like, oh my goodness, this is hard. And instead of it being something that's like, oh man, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. It's like, wow, I'm about to grow. I'm about to grow right now. And it becomes one thing that would have disempowered me, would have weighed me down and made me feel less than, is something that's getting me excited. And I'm like, woo, because I know on the other end of this, I'm going to be a better version of myself. Therefore, no matter what I experience, no matter what I'm going through, it's happening for me. It's a resource instead of a barrier. And that could be anything. That can be my present state of mind. That can be my bills. That can be clients not cooperating, partners not cooperating, extra paperwork, getting kicked out, baby mama drama, you name it. It could be anything. If it's challenging me, then it's calling me to grow. It's calling me to grow my muscles. It's that resistance that I need to break out of this shell, to break out of this previous version of myself and become something better and something new. So I do feel blessed. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect with this mentality all the time, but when I get there, it's like, it's wild, you know, and it feels, I become filled with energy. I become filled with passion, and I'm attacking my challenge from that high energy state of like, yeah, I'm excited to get something out of this, you know? So, and I bet that I'm in a better position to address the challenge than if I'm like, oh my goodness, and now is this happening, and now this, oh, not this, no. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, our reactions are our reactions, but what's going to empower us is being able to turn our challenge into an asset. And that's about that perspective. The other thing is that we all know that most things change. And I'd be willing to say that everything eventually changes. It might not change in the way that we want it to, but no matter how permanent something is, eventually that something isn't going to even be a something anymore. It's just the nature of the universe. Things change. Our atoms are vibrating. There's growth and decay. Metal, gold, you know, they change states. You can build a metal fixture right now, and some years from now, we don't know how many, it's not going to be there anymore. It'll disintegrate. You know, our names, who we are, where we are, we're all changing. And just like we came from a good spot, and it might be a negative spot right now, that negative spot is going to change into a good spot. It just, things are always changing. Somebody mentioned staying power. This too shall pass. And sometimes just knowing that is enough for me to smile through a problem. Sometimes just knowing that is enough for me to smile. And also when things get really, really good, I don't get sucked into and attached to needing that thing to be that good, because I know that eventually this too is going to change. Everything changes. So I can enjoy it while it's here, and I can be glad and I can be grateful and I can be thankful, but I also know that eventually this thing is going to change, and I'm emotionally ready for that. I'm emotionally prepared for the money not to be there anymore, or for there to be another money challenge, because more money, more problems. I'm emotionally ready. So I can rejoice when it's high, and when it's low, I can also rejoice because I know that it's going to change. So when we talked about resilience, I studied a bunch of successful people, and the infinity part is around this change, just knowing that there is change, but there's another secret part to that I'm going to share in a second. Persistence. When you talk to a lot of successful people, a lot of times they're no different than you and I. They're just like, you know, they're regular people. And some of us get shocked when we meet our heroes, because we're like, wow, you didn't know that thing that I know, you know, and you're, you know, so-and-so. Wow, they're regular people. But one of the differences between them and most people is that they had persistence. They stayed through. They had that staying power. When it got tough and it got impossible, they figured out a way through that. And they made themselves figure out a way. And sometimes they had no choice but to figure out a way. They burned the bridges. They crossed the bridge. They burned the bridges. They arrived to the island. They burned the boats. There wasn't no turning back. There was no way to turn back. They had to persist. They had to persevere. And I tell the story about when I was jogging as a part of a workout, and I was really, really tired. It was a CrossFit workout. And if you've ever done CrossFit, it is wildly taxing to the body, wildly taxing. You go through this circuit of exercises, And then there's zero rest. Once you're done with that circuit, you go right into the same thing all over again. And in this particular circuit, it was a whole bunch of other things. But one of them was to run, I think 800 meters or something like that. And I think it was my second or third time going through this circuit. I was running slower than some people might walk. You know, if there would have been a speed walker next to me, they would have smoked me because I was tiptoeing. But I remember that what was in my head was just not stopping. It wasn't getting to the finish line. I couldn't even think of the finish line. The finish line was way too far away. And no matter how close I got, the finish line was still way too far away. I just had to think about this next step. Can I make it through this next step? And a lot of us, when it comes to our entrepreneurial endeavors, we are thinking about the whole journey and the whole project. And I gotta get to this end goal of saving the world and helping 1 million people and making $1 million and buying all these houses and saving my family, et cetera, et cetera. So when things come up that make it challenging, it's not just this task that's jeopardized, it's all of these goals. And when things come up, it's not just this task that we can't accomplish right now, it's all of these other tasks that we also have to accomplish. It's not just I'm figuring out this problem, I got to figure out this problem and accomplish this big mountain of problems and choices and ideas and all of these tasks that we have to do. But being able to focus on the next step, you can drive at nighttime across the US just by seeing the next couple hundred feet in front of you with the headlights. You don't need to see the whole journey. You don't need to plan all that thing out. We just got to make it to the next step. We just got to make it to the next day. How can we stay in this? Having that staying power that somebody mentioned earlier. One of the things that I learned through a lot of successful people is that they just stayed in the game. Warren Buffett, he's touted as one of the most successful investors in the world. One of his main strategies is just being able to stay put. There's no magic or science around it. He just has enough to be able to stay put and watch the market turn right back around on us. So persistence, making that decision. The other thing is gratitude. I think Tony Robbins asked another, majorly successful person, what made the difference in success? What is success? How do you get there? And it was gratitude. And I think that this is probably one of the most important lessons that I learned, was just being able to actually practice being thankful. And I know this is stuff that we kind of already know, but is it something that we practice, and why don't we practice it? Having and practicing gratitude. I mean, really, I am thankful for being able to wake up. I'm thankful for being able to do this right now, to have this messy desk and be able to talk to you all about these things, and for people to really be getting something from that. I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful for all the opportunities, even the ones that haven't even come up yet. I'm thankful for the victories that I know I've won because of the nature of infinity. And I'm gonna get there in a second. But gratitude, there's a physiological shift that happens in our body when we are grateful. And it empowers us to be able to persist, to be able to stay in the game. I'm grateful. When we're dealing with the challenge, we tend to focus on the challenge. We tend to focus on the problems. We tend to focus on how heavy it is, how bad it is. But gratitude will change that in a second. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. And this is a tool that you can use to intentionally, when you feel yourself, because you're practicing awareness, you're practicing that introspection, you feel yourself getting in a slump, immediately, what can I be grateful for? This might not be going the way that I wanted to, but this is a whole new problem than I used to have. I'm blessed to be able to have this type of problem. This is a quality problem, or man, I have the wherewithal to be able to see myself having this challenge and be able to snap out of it. I'm so grateful for my awareness and my ability to introspect and have that and know that. Gratitude, a huge, huge tool. And I know it's something that we kind of know already, but this is, just because we know it doesn't mean that we apply it. And what I'm hoping to reinforce is how we apply this in the moment. a lot of us, when we were going through this process, especially with the PPP, there was some discouragement. There was some, some worry. What if it doesn't work? But man, I'm in the position to be, in the running for this kind of money. You know what I mean? And, oh, what if it works? And all of the opportunity that comes from that. There's so much we can do to shift our experience and our perspective in the moment. And there were many times where some of the folks just gave up. You all didn't give up, but there were some of us that was like, you know what? This is hard. I'm out. I don't want to do this. And I wonder if they would have been able to cultivate some gratitude in that moment if they would have been sitting on an approved PPP like we are, So gratitude is something that it changes your decisions in the moment, and it's a tool that you can share with other people to be able to help them change and their decisions in the moment and remain in the game. Gratitude, infinity. So gratitude, not just for what is presently real for you, but I want to talk to you about infinity. And it's kind of out there as a concept, but if you can trust in science the way that you trust in your medication, the way that you trust in the clock, our iPhones, trust for a second that what scientists have discovered about the universe is that it's infinite, even if it's contained in what we know about it contained in a small container. So the thing that makes us up, we got our organs, our body, right? It's made up of tissues and muscles and fibers. Those are made up of molecules, right? The molecules are groups of atoms, and the atoms are made up of smaller versions of atoms and smaller versions of atoms and smaller versions of atoms until you get to this tiny little piece of energy that's vibrating really, really fast. And that is as material as our material world is. But because we are all vibrating, we experience each other as being physical. So an example of this is sound waves clashing. If it's like we are waves of energy and vibrations that are walking into each other. And because we're all vibrating at different frequencies, we bump into each other and we experience physicality. But when we dissect what the world is actually made of, it's actually mostly energy. It's actually not as physical as we think it is. And furthermore, that thing that's vibrating at the center of our being, at the center of everything that makes us up, and for religious folks, this could be an example of how they say that that God animates our spirits, that we are held together and uplifted and enlivened and made to move and walk and have our being in Him. This vibrating particle is also not always there. It's disappearing and reappearing really, really fast. So fast that we couldn't see it if we tried. We couldn't see it. It does it trillions of times in the blink of an eye. Trillions of times in the blink of an eye. Trillions. So where it goes when it's disappearing is it's actually appearing somewhere else in a whole nother version of this universe. So I'm explaining this because we, for whatever reason, we like to believe in finality, in finiteness, in scarcity. But everything about our universe, everything about who we are as a being, screams the exact opposite. It screams nothing but possibility. If we look back in history, there were so many things that we thought we knew that we just know we were wrong about. I mean, we used to think that the earth was flat. Some people thought that the earth was flat. Some people thought that in order to make people well again, you had to drill holes in their body to let the evil spirits out. And they were literally treating headaches and mental illnesses like this. Not everybody, but some cultures. What we thought we knew is not as real as how am I saying this? We've been wrong a lot in our history about what we thought we knew. And the only thing that has remained 100% constant, 100% constant, is that we just might be wrong about what we think we know. That's it. We just might be wrong. Oh, is that something that we know? We just might be wrong about that. And what it says is that it's far more likely for things to be possible than impossible. And the reason I'm explaining this like this is because this is faith. This is our ability to create in our world. Being able to really rely on the reality of infinity, not just the idea of infinity, but the reality of infinity. We have no idea what's on the outside of the walls that are surrounding us right now. We assume that we know because our brain needs to do that to kind of hold on to that stability that we reach for in our minds. We need to have consistency. We need to have stability. That's why we are more familiar and we are more welcoming toward things that we've experienced in the past, because it's like, oh yeah, I recognize that. That's stable. Let me grab onto that. Let me hold on to that. So we need to simplify things, but in reality, infinity is happening all around us. Infinity is happening deep inside us, at the very core of the things that make us up. Infinity is happening all the time. And the possibilities of what we experience is literally, not figuratively, not within a certain framework. It is literally infinite. The possibilities are infinite, 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 infinite. And what makes the difference of what we actually experience, I'll invite you to Google the double slit experiment. And I can share a link. I can share a link for us. But the double slit experiment basically showed us that infinity is happening all around us all the time. And it is our perception of it that gives us one version of that. Here's an example that you might be able to relate to more easily. Have you ever been on the lake and you see the lights on the lake? The sun might be shining, or it might be the moon, or maybe it's the city's lights and you're looking at, Lake Monona. If you notice, no matter where you travel on that lake, those lights follow you, don't they? Does this make sense? Have y'all experienced this? You're walking across a lake, and isn't the sun's light shining right directly towards you? There's a direct line. There's a line from the sun to you on the lake, or there's a line from the moon to you on the lake, or from the street lights, or from the Capitol lights, the city lights. You're looking at those lights pointing right to you. Look at a picture of lights on the lake. The lights are pointing right to the camera every single time. But you know what baffles me about this, and what excites me about it, is that the person standing 50 feet away, the lights are pointing to them too. And the person standing 50 feet away from them, the lights are pointing to them too. But you don't see that line. You don't see that line going to them. You see the line coming to you. That is an example of how the whole lake is lit up. But we're just experiencing one version of that. We're just experiencing one aspect of that lake where the sun is shining on the whole lake. The sun is shining on the whole thing. But we only experience our version of that. We only experience our version of the spider. We only experience our version of one another. We only experience our version of our situation, that conversation or that moment or that opportunity. But it is literally infinite in every way possible. And that whole lake is lit up. And every way you can look at something, and every opportunity, and every resource that can be, we have access to that. Because infinity is real, and we experience infinity on a day-to-day basis. So with gratitude, we can tap into that infinity. And this is some esoteric stuff. This is something that's coming from, in terms of in biblical terms, this is the substance of things hoped for. This is the evidence of things not seen when we're talking about faith. In terms of the secret, in terms of, actualizing our reality, this is how we lean on that. When we talk about the law of attraction, they say, well, you just got to imagine it and put yourself in the, but for some of us, we've experienced reality so harshly and so, so real that we can't separate ourselves from that. But if we can use our version of reality to confirm infinity, to confirm how, there was that one coincidence where that thing just kind of lined up, or I was thinking about that person and they called, or, I was worried about this thing and it happened, or I was praying for this thing and it happened, or that coincidence. Those are examples of how infinity is just saying hi, but you experience it every time you walk on the lake. I encourage us when this is over to just go and take a look at the water and just, it is a metaphor for the universe in totality. In totality, the Egyptian description of the universe talks about the waters of noon. It talks about the universe being an infinite lake, an infinite water. And our experience of that is tailored toward us. And in terms of Christianity in the Bible, it talks about the Spirit of the Lord moving across the waters and of the universe. And in the beginning there was nothing. There was darkness, and there was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And what they're talking about is that vibration, that difference, the sound, So whether you're looking at this from a faith standpoint, from a Christianity standpoint, from a Buddhist standpoint, from an Egyptian standpoint, a Kemetic standpoint, or from a quantum mechanics standpoint, or you're just somebody that's skipping rocks on the lake, infinity is real. It is real. And I can tell you examples of how when I have just trusted in that, and I've known, like, listen, my resource and my opportunity and my grant and my sponsorship is coming through. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it is, but I've spent enough times not having answers for the next month. I got enough money in the bank account. I got not even enough money in the bank account. I got enough money on my credit cards to get me through the rest of this month. And then I don't know. But what I do know is that infinity is real. And God has had my back this much. And I have enough examples to lean on and to rely on in my history to tell me, to remind me that infinity is real, even if it's just walking across the lake, that I stand on that. And what the double slit experiment says for us is that when you're able to stand for something, when you're able to stand on your expectation of something at a deep, deep level, and you're looking for that and you're expecting for that, you are that much more likely to experience it. And isn't this something that we just know intuitively? Like, if you expect to get in a car accident every time you get in the car, are you not more likely to get, when we think about that person, like, yeah, they're probably more likely to get in the car. If that person, every time we talk to them, said, oh, here I go getting in a car, I'm about to get into a car accident again. If they said that to us every time they got into a car, and then later on, a week later, they come to us and say, I got into a car accident, we wouldn't be surprised. We'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You're always putting that out there, So the same thing goes for our expectation of reality, and what the vibration that we're putting out there is infinity is real. We are actualizing our divine, God-given ability to create in every single moment. If someone does not believe that they can do something, they're going to do things that show that. They're not going to pursue the opportunity because they don't believe that they can. They're not going to try hard. If something comes up, they're going to give up. And all of those things are going to lead to reinforcing their belief that they can't do something. But if someone's like, you know what? This is possible. It's possible for us to get this loan. It's possible for us to get this grant. It's possible for us to succeed. I don't know where it's going to come from, but I know it's going to come. That person is listening differently to opportunities. That person is responding differently to their challenges. So I'm not talking about some magical infinity and wave the wand and, wish and cross your eyes and, cross your fingers and close your eyes and click your heels 3 times. I'm talking about how we actively in our day-to-day through our thoughts, we do different things. A prime example, and then I'll move on for this because I know I'm beating this horse. Prime example, I happen to have this reliance and belief in my success. And not just my success, but how my success will lead to other people's success. I claim it every single day. It's part of my morning ritual. I meditate, I do my affirmations, I pray, you know, and I send that out there and I bring it into myself. Well, I got into it with my son's mom. We were very upset with each other. And I did my exercises. And part of my reason for being upset was I believed that she had cost me an opportunity. Without going into the details, I was very frustrated. And I was thinking like, wow, you know, I'm trying to be, you know, a healthy co-parent with her. I'm trying to, you know, stay on the same page. But here she go doing this thing, and it cost me this opportunity. And if she just wouldn't have, And then I got aware of my thoughts. I took some breaths. I realized that I was, you know, I wasn't going down the path of success. I was becoming upset. I was blaming her for something. And I was acting as if infinity isn't real. I was acting as if this was the only opportunity that I was going to have to be able to get my resource. And just like that, in that moment, that introspection, that prayer, that meditation, it shook me out of that. And I was able to forgive her for whatever role I thought she played in that. And I remembered, oh yeah, I was going to share her a resource. I was going to share a resource with her so that she was looking for an accountant. Now, if I would have been heated, if I would have been mad at her, if I would have been, you know, frustrated and, you know, trying to get back at her, holding a grudge, I would not have done anything for her. But because I was able to forgive myself, forgive her, to have a broader perspective, to not really need that thing that I thought was my only opportunity, I was in a giving mood. I shared with her. I shared that resource with her. This resource just so happened to be an accountant. The accountant told her, hey, remember to apply for the PPP program. I'd said this to her, but I forgot about it. There's so much going on, and now I'm mad. But let me just go ahead, because I ain't going to be like that. Let me send this accountant to her. He says, apply for the PPP. She says, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Let me do that. I got the same email. And it goes in the back of my mind. Then I hear her talking about it to someone else on the phone. Or I hear her say to someone else, oh, yeah, that's right. I got to apply for my PPP. I was talking to somebody else. And I hear this. It stands out to me because my eyes and my ears are tuned to other opportunities because I believe in infinity. I know that infinity is real. I know that God is real, that God is pouring into me, that my opportunity is there. So when I heard her talk about it, I stopped what I was doing because that's what somebody does when they're in that mindset. If I'd have been depressed, if I'd have been low, if I'd have been woe is me, if I'd have been upset, I might not even been in that space. I might not have even heard her. It was a distant shot. I just heard PPP and I was like, oh yeah, let me do that. And I did. And then I got it. And then I was like, I got to share this with as many people as possible. I asked her to refer somebody. I asked other people to refer people. And because of that perception of infinity and my belief and my calling to be a resource to other people, not just my success, but other people's success, I'm living it. I'm living it. And we are representations of that. And I'm telling you, for me, this would not have happened. Maybe you all would have found out about the PPP and applied on your own. But I know for a fact that for me, I would not have approached this if I wouldn't have been in the right mindset. And what kept me in that mindset was these pillars here, that persistence, that gratitude, and understanding that God is real and infinity is real. And we are intricate parts of that. We are part of that. And if we are a part of something that is infinite, then we are also infinite. And so is our God-given ability to create in our world. And trusting in that has allowed me to overcome so many different obstacles. It's allowed me to be persistent through so many different obstacles. And it allowed me to do what I needed to do to be a resource to you all so that we ended up coming out on top as it relates to this PPP. And now have a whole nother stream of opportunities that, you know, good or bad, they're in line with my prayer for myself and for my community to be an asset. So for me, that comes down to mindfulness, and being able to be with myself, reflect, go deep, and make moves not from a reactive standpoint, not from a rehearsed emotional standpoint, but really being aware of what's going on with me and choosing to step out based on what I know and what I want to create, rather than what I've been in the habit of creating. Because let's face it, we're here right now in part because of other people, but also because how we've responded to those other people and the decisions that we've made. And those decisions are coming from the thoughts that we've had and our mindset. And we can change our mindset, we can change our thoughts, we can change and improve our well-being and our resilience by our introspection, by our mindfulness, and by understanding those pillars. So I'm sorry I talked so long, but I was feeling it, and I mean, I hope y'all got some stuff from that. I'm gonna stop talking for a second and just check in. We're almost at time. We're about at time. How are y'all feeling about that? What are your thoughts? We went through a lot, but resilience, infinity, change. How is it sitting with y'all?
Well, that was a lot, Eric, you threw at us. But what I heard there, faith, you got to step out on faith. I mean, you started your business with the purpose of helping others. And I know that, being spiritual and all, in order for you to be great, you have to help others to be great. So, I understand that. And I, too, myself, try to help as many people as I can. I think if the Father leads me to you and gives me something to give to you, then I'm obedient to that spirit. And you just have to stay true to your purpose. I mean, I know that a lot of things require us, the things that we can't see. We know, like you said, infinity. That's faith. It's about your faith and how strong your faith is in due processes. I mean, I don't think the Father would lead you to a business and just leave you and not be able to support it and not be able to grow it. I mean, that's just how I personally see things from, a business perspective. I don't think the Father leads us to anything that he doesn't take us through. I mean, it's going to be some hurdles and some unpleasant moments, but in the end, he takes you to it to bring you through it, and you're a stronger person for it. So, I think just keeping the faith that things will work out, as they're meant to work out, you'll be fine.
Right on.
I agree with that very much. With, like what I was saying earlier, I stepped out on faith and just looked at the resources that I had and worked with what I did have and just believed that it's going to work out. It gave me a better well-being, eased up a lot of stress, and allowed me to clear my mind and apply myself to different things. And so far, they're working out. Like you say, it's your faith for the due process, and you have to be patient.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel that.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any reflections? How is this hidden? How is it not hidden? What's, is it speaking to it in any situations? Is this something that you feel like you're going to be able to use?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Word. Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It was less of a connecting directly to resources and more of connecting to our inner resources. And my hope is just to give some practical steps to that, rather than what a lot of people, a lot of the just believe stuff and step out on faith. I think that we are in need of, like, what does that really look like? What is that and how? And And I know I was one of those people. And I found that how through my study of quantum mechanics and other belief systems and scripture, and then just paying attention, and through these tools here. So our follow-through work is really intentionally cultivating well-being and resilience this coming week. How can we cultivate well-being and resilience? Are there some areas that you feel like you need to cultivate some well-being and some resilience? Or do we just feel like we're 100%, well, and we're all in the up and up, and we're 100% resilient, and we don't have any worries or anything to worry about, or, we're not struggling with anything? How are you going to cultivate well-being and resilience in this coming week? It's not something we have to talk about right now because it's after 6. We've been here close to 2 hours, and I want to make sure I'm honoring your time. But next time we are going to touch on this. It's going to be part of our check-in. And then we are going to get into the Movement Fund income stream. Man, woo! It's going to be something. It's going to be, when y'all see it, when you see it, you're going to be like, so I can add this, I can give my customers a way to give back and earn some money and build funds for relief efforts. Imagine that. We're going to get into it. The Movement Fund, feel free to check it out on your own during this week. But most importantly, let's cultivate some well-being and some resilience. Any questions? Any last words? Oh, real quick. If you haven't already, if you've gotten a request, or if you've sent in a request for funds to Mavi and you haven't heard back, check your email, check your spam. We've been responding to folks, and we're not getting a response as to how we send the money to you. So if you're connected to folks who have sent requests, please let them know to check their email or send us their payment method so we can get them some money. We are running low, but we designated some money. The reason why we're running low is because we designated money for people who aren't responding. So, holler, But other than that, any last words? Check out. How are y'all feeling about all this?
Good.
Pretty good.
Really good.
Word. Okay. I'm looking forward. So tomorrow is going to be a repeat of this. So don't feel like you have to show up tomorrow unless you really want to. Next Monday is when we're going to talk about the Movement Fund and check in about how you cultivated well-being and resilience. And please, please, please do intentionally try to cultivate some well-being and resilience. I know this is stuff that you might already know and it's cool, but there are a lot of us that don't. And a lot of people don't have practice in intentionally doing this. So your being able to share your experience in the next session could benefit somebody and be the way that they needed to hear that in order to cultivate in their own lives. So take that with you. I appreciate y'all for being a part of this, and looking forward to next week.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful rest of you guys' evening.
You too.
You too.
All right, y'all. God bless.
Yeah.